Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Smita Tiwari from Indian Council of World Affairs, New Delhi. Today we are going to talk on the module Evolution of Government of India Policy on Overseas Indian from the paper Sociology of Indian Diaspora. So students, let us see what we are going to learn in this module. This module targets to explain the specific aspects of evolution of Government of India's diaspora policy and explore the objectives and principles of the new diaspora policy. Migration is a natural, continuous and spatial phenomena. Specific kinds of migration across national borders with a consciousness of shared culture, history among the migrants and with a sense of being different from the host country results in the creation of diasporas. As Gabriel Scheffer says, modern diasporas are ethnic minority groups of migrant origin residing and acting in host countries but maintaining strong sentimental and material links with their country of origin, their homelands. Modern diasporic communities which live outside but maintain links with their country of origin are getting larger and stronger and influencing both domestic politics and foreign relations of a state. In an era of accelerated globalization, the relationship between diaspora and the economic and social development of both host land and homeland is increasingly relevant. Government of many developing countries and other international agencies are acknowledging diaspora's potential contribution to economic development. The attention has primarily focused on the total economic remittances, which may many a time outpace the official development assistance. After the global financial crisis showed down sign of recovery, the recorded remittances flowed to developing countries reached $325 billion in 2010 and $372 billion in 2011 and $401 billion in 2012. The total value of remittances in the form of money and goods sent to family, friends, and informal or semi-formal channels is thought to be much higher. Diaspora and foreign policy. The existence of diasporas requires members of a community to continue to identify with their homeland and to cultivate ties both between themselves and homeland. Foreign policy of a country is determined by a number of internal and external factors. Today, many countries are eager to adjust or modify their foreign policy to tap into their diasporas. Country of origin considers these diasporas' engagement policies as an opportunity to further their national interests. Specific types of policy can enhance flows of remittances, investments, knowledge transfer, and political influence through diaspora groups back into their homelands. According to Eva Kestergaard, country of origin has three main interests from its nationals abroad: economic, political support, and social capital upgrading. From the perspective of rational choice theorists, any rational actor model assumes that actors such as decision maker make choices which the actors believe will lead to the best feasible outcome for them as defined by their personal values or preferences. Further, a diaspora can be a direct source of advantage to the country of origin when its members have the desire and ability to trade with, invest in, and outsource to domestic business. A diaspora can also be an indirect source of advantage when its members act as reputational intermediaries, matching trading partners, supporting contracting by leveraging long-term relationship with people from the new and former homes, and most importantly, overcoming negative national stereotypes through demonstrations of their capabilities abroad. Indian diaspora concept and classification. Generally, the term overseas Indians is employed to designate both the Indian national overseas and the people of Indian origin (PIOs). There is a marked difference between these two categories regarding their political status, which they receive in their countries of settlement, the pattern, purpose, and duration of their migration, and their population characteristics. The term Indian national overseas is generally referred to as non-resident Indians, that is NRIs, holding of an Indian passport, and duration of staying are important elements to constitute the status of NRI. On the other hand, a person ceases to be NRI on acquiring citizenship of the country of its settlement according to the Citizenship Act 1955. The other category of overseas Indians community is referred as people of Indian origin, who are mainly descendants of the emigrants of indentured labor, especially those who were engaged in various plantations sent by British in 19th and part of early 20th century. Further, the Government of India has introduced the Overseas Citizenship of India scheme by amending the Citizenship Act 1955 in August 2005. The scheme provides for registration as overseas citizen of India of all persons of Indian origin who were citizens of India on 26th January 1950 or thereafter were eligible to become citizens of India on 26th January 1950, except who is or had been a citizen of Pakistan, Bangladesh, or such other country as the central government may, by notification in the official gazette, specify, according to the Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs. However, overseas citizenship of India is not to be misconstrued as dual citizenship. Overseas citizenship of India does not confer any political rights. The Indian diaspora has spread all across the globe. In the US, though the Indian community constitute a microscopic minority, that is 1.7%, their presence there is vital in terms of economic success of the US. In Canada, the Indian community constitutes 1.8% of the total population. In the UK, Indian population is over 1 million, which constitute 2% of the total population. The population of Indian community in Gulf Cooperation Council, that is GCC, countries of Saudi Arabia, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and United Arab Emirates is estimated to be about 11% of the total population. Of the whole Indian population in Gulf, the vast majority of 46% reside in Saudi Arabia and 27% in the UAE. They also form a significant population in Qatar, that is 23.81%, Bahrain 20.22%, Oman 13.52%, and Kuwait 20%. The Indian population in these countries are NRIs because these countries do not provide for citizenship to immigrants. India's diaspora policy. imperial legacy of India had led to the creation of Indian diaspora. Before independence, the Indian National Congress demanded equal rights and status for the Indian nationals with the local people of the land in their country of settlement. Until 908, the Congress ardently asked the imperial government to adopt a tough attitude towards those self-governing colonies which were ruthlessly dealing with Indian interests. The Congress also raised the issue of their conditions of labor. For the Indian National Congress leadership, the cause of Indian overseas migrants was an extension of anti-imperialist struggle in other parts of the empire. On the other hand, the expatriates Indians also made contribution to the movement of independence by publishing papers and generating political and public opinion in America and elsewhere to favor the India's freedom struggle further. Funds from overseas Indians supported the movement, demonstrating that the solidarity was mutual. However, the attainment of India's independence was considered as precondition for the effective protection and movement in the status of Indians abroad. India's diaspora policy. India's policy towards them changed after the withdrawal of the colonial power. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, after taking the leadership of India in post-independence, advised the expatriate community of India to be loyal for their country of residence in order to maintain national sovereignty, amicable international relations, non-interference to the affairs of other nations, and for the pursuit of non-alignment. He not only excluded the issue of expatriate Indians from Indian foreign and domestic policy formulations, but also actively encouraged the diaspora to integrate into the host societies. On the other hand, in the wake of decolonization in the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, the overseas Indians faced a number of problems on the political, economic, and socio-cultural front. In Uganda, Indians were charged of taking away livelihood from the black man, and Idi Amin asked for their immediate removal. In Kenya, also Indians' eviction was only slightly less callous. Indians in the South Africa faced severe racial discrimination. In case of Fiji, India adopted the similar stand when Fiji Indians became victims of military coup. The fate of Burmese Indians were quite similar when an anti-India wave Burmese Indians lost their shops, trade, and forced to leave. Even in such critical conditions, India became supportive of decolonization in Asia and Africa and left the diaspora to fight for itself. In subsequent years, India followed open-door policy on the matter of international migration of higher skilled workers to the industrialized countries that gained momentum in 70s and 80s. The brain drain, as it is commonly known, is a phenomenon where young Indians, doctors, scientists, lawyers, and computer specialists have left India for the US, Canada, or Australia to have a better life. In Middle East, Indians have gone as laborers on short-term work permits, though Indian government was duty-bound to protect overall ill treatment given to them and to protect their lives and property, it could do little help in the matters of exploitation. In post-Cold War period, India's foreign policy has undergone a drastic change. Several domestic and international incidents took place which compelled India to reformulate its foreign policy. The closed Indian economy was opened due to domestic compulsions. This has made an impact on their policies towards diaspora. The Narasimha Rao government started new economic policy that called for immediate and extensive reforms. Government's first priority was to stop, slide, and restore India's credibility both domestically and internationally. To achieve this, immediate measures had to be taken to avert default in international payments and restore the macroeconomic balance. The economy was for the first time opened up to outside investors who could acquire a majority share holding in the Indian companies. The little shift in policy of Indian government made it clear that now India was targeting towards its expatriates who had left in post-independence period, mostly to the developed countries of the West for economic advancement. Further, change was also visible in diaspora's profile, particularly the NRIs. Whenever they were settled, they were influential in economy, services, academics, politics, health, sector, entrepreneurship, etc. Higher education, professionally skilled, and technological advancement resulting in huge salaries made them secure enough to look back to their country of origin and to contribute to its development. Trends in flow of remittances in India year-wise. The table shows how the flow of remittances increased over the years from 1970s to 2010. This played important role for involving diaspora in countries' development. We will have a look at the table. In the year 1970, the flow of remittance has not been recorded. In year 1975, the flow of remittance was minimal. It was at 0.43% billion dollar. In 1980, the flow of remittance was $2.8 billion. In 1990, the flow of remittance was $2.4 billion. Till 1990, the remittance remained minimal. It increased post-2000 as we see in the table. In 2000, the flow of remittance increased up to $12.9 billion. In 2005, the remittance increased up to $24.55 billion, which further increased in 2010 up to $55.06 billion, and it was a huge increase in terms of remittances which India used to receive. India's diaspora policy. The advent of BJP-led NDA government expanded the diaspora policy considerably. They fastened the pace of reforms and speed of the move towards integration with the process of globalization. The launching of PIO, that is People of Indian Origin Card, constituting a high-level committee on the Indian diaspora under the chairmanship of Dr. L.M. Singhvi, celebrating Pravasiya Bharatiya Divas and establishing a new ministry, that is Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs, in 2004 were a few significant steps towards promoting, nurturing, and sustaining a mutually beneficial and symbiotic relationship between India and overseas Indians. In September 2000, the NDA government constituted a high-level committee on Indian diaspora that recommended a broad and flexible policy framework after reviewing the status, need, and role of persons of Indian origin, that is PIO, and non-resident Indians, that is NRIs, established in 2004 as the Ministry of Non-Resident Indian Affairs and it was renamed as Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs in September 2004. India's diaspora policy. Congress-led UPA had innovated more policies to involve diaspora into the development of India. Given the diversity and geographic spread of the overseas Indian community and with it, the emergence of distinct region, country-specific ethos, the need and expectation of the overseas Indian vary considerably. The policies, programs, and the schemes of ministry are therefore designed to meet these wide-ranging needs and expectations. These include 1. Overseas Citizenship of India (OCI). 2. Know India Program (KIP). 3. Scholarship Scheme for Diaspora Children (SSDC). 4. Tracing the Roots. 5. MOU with Doordarshan and ICCR. 6. Establishment of a PIO University. 7. Pravasi Bharatiya Kendra. 8. India Health Care Initiative. 9. Overseas Indian Investment Facilitation Center. 10. India Development Philanthropy Foundation. 11. Awareness Campaign on NRI Marriages. 12. Legal assistance for women facing problems in NRI marriages. 13. E-governance in emigration. 14. Pre-departure orientation and skill upgradation for emigrant workers. 15. Council for Promotion of Overseas Employment. 16. Pravasiya Bharatiya Bima Yojana. 17. Overseas Indian Centers. India's diaspora policy. First, political dimension of the policy. In response to a long and persistent demand for dual citizenship, particularly from the diaspora in major industrialized countries, the Government of India has started an innovative Overseas Citizenship of India scheme. Under this scheme, the persons of Indian origin are granted the Indian citizenship and get all benefits except political. They cannot vote in Indian elections and cannot hold constitutional posts such as President, Vice President, Judge of Supreme Court and High Court. Political rights constitute core to the fundamental element in the concept of citizenship, but this innovative scheme cleverly promotes and facilitates economic investment from overseas Indian community without providing them political rights. Several other schemes such as Diaspora Knowledge Networks, Know India Program, Scholarship Program for Diaspora Children, Bilateral Security Agreements, Protection of Emigrant against Exploitation in Gulf Fare, being considered as a major steps to involve Indian diaspora. Recently, extending voting rights to the NRIs have also been considered by the Government of India. Second aspect, economic dimension of the policy. India has provided special savings, investment schemes and instruments for their non-resident population to bring in capital in various forms into their home countries. These instruments include non-resident, local as well as foreign currency accounts and bonds, which offer attractive interest rates and tax benefit to facilitate investment and savings by the diaspora population. NRIs have been permitted to move capital freely between their home and host countries without much bureaucratic constraints. There are, for instance, non-resident ordinary accounts in rupees which are non-repatriable, as well as repatriable non-resident external accounts in rupees, and repatriable foreign currency non-resident accounts. The two latter accounts enable NRIs to bring in large sum of money to start business in India and be exempt from taxes on interest earnings. Portfolio investments have also been facilitated for non-resident Indians by making income from such investments repatriable and by not requiring NRI investors to report their transactions to the Reserve Bank of India. As a result of such initiatives and schemes, through the 1990s and also in recent years, the skilled Indian diaspora has remitted and invested substantially through the formal banking channels and through the stock markets. However, the role of Indian diaspora with regard to foreign direct investment has been much smaller than in the case of remittances and deposits. So, students, let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. Presently, Indian diaspora, with its high level of potential to contribute in India's economy, have become a factor in foreign policy making. That India is keen to exploit the potential evident from several diaspora engaging policies which have come up in last decade. The new policy certainly has a doses of pragmatism. It is trying to economically and politically harness the Indian network and resources that till now only existed in only cultural domain through extended familial relations and the nostalgic search for roots. The socio-economic profile of Indian diaspora is also changing with their newly acquired financial strength. For the government and the people alike, the overseas community support has come to stand for national economic development. The political effects of diaspora creates opportunities as well as challenges to India's foreign policy, which depends on the combination of factors such as nature of country of settlement, the relationship between Indian government and diaspora, and the nature of India's domestic politics. Thank you.